Hello again, rail fans. Well, the summer is here, and that means some hot days, but it also means longer light in the evening, which is a plus for rail fanning. Now, a couple of Saturdays ago, I blocked out a whole Saturday for train chasing up the S line. So let's go. The morning didn't start out too promising. Lots of low, dark clouds, the kind that look like they're going to hit you at any time. By the time I reached Ocala, it had opened up. So the first spot we can find that's hospitable for this kind of rail fanning is the old Ocala Union Station here. This served both the Seaboard Airline and the Atlantic Coastline. It became Amtrak later, and now it's basically a bus terminal. It's one of the nicest bus terminals around. But anyway, I'm hearing a K train up there. He just called the signal at Silver Springs, which means he'll be here very quickly. So let's go.
CSXT K476, 04 south. Engine 869, I got it clear. Ocala. Track 2 south.
It was K476, an as-needed ethanol train for Tampa. There, it's blended at the giant Port Tampa Bay gasoline terminals. This usually comes out of Illinois. We get a couple of these a week. There are no passenger trains anymore at Ocala Union Station, though the city invested in rehabbing it for that purpose in the late 1990s. If passenger ever does come back to this line, Ocala will have an excellent station. As I drifted north on 301, I got into the town of Citra. It was Saturday, and Waldo Farms peanut packers would be open. A quarter bushel of green Florida peanuts are $10 this season. There would be a whole bunch of boiled peanuts at the Harmon Hacienda tomorrow. 3 minutes at Waldron's and I was back on the road northbound, where you never know what you're going to see on trucks. I heard on the radio bits and pieces of something coming south, so I pulled in at Waldo. Waldo, Florida was once named by AAA as America's worst speed trap, and I could bear witness to that. On dozens of railfan trips through here over 25 years, I've seen drivers stop for doing 48 in the town's 45-mile-an-hour speed zone. No more, though. The Florida legislature made traffic ticket quotas illegal, and that put the Waldo cops out of business, literally. Right at the 301 overpass, there's an old caboose with seaboard markings that houses a small museum. It was right then that the radio told me to get ready.
CSX 453, it's got a clear meet digital. North Waldo, locomotive CSX 3433 south.
If you're a subscriber to my channel, and I hope you are, you already know that Q453 is daily freight from Miami out of Waycross, Georgia. And today it's a big one, though not a record, 9,400 feet. The switch those cars are slamming over is for a tiny storage track, about 150 feet long. But once upon a time, it was the turnout for the junction to Gainesville and Cedar Key. It was the Florida Railroad, and its terminal at Cedar Key came very close to being the large port city on Florida's west coast, the large port city that Tampa is today. But a guy named Henry B. Plant eventually put an end to that, and that was the end of Cedar Key's dreams as a big port. Okay, so we got that 453, the southbound, and we got that ethanol train back at Ocala this morning. I just had a little bit of lunch here under the bridge at Waldo, and I'm going to move on north and turn up the radio to see if there's anything else. In a few minutes, the defect detector at Noonan surprised me.
Total axle 422, train lane 5564, speed 42, end of transmission.
422 axles and 5,500 feet. Sounded like a coal train. I turned off to intercept, but it was the wrong road, and I was 3 miles down it before I caught the mistake. By the time I'd got back out on the highway and got far enough south to catch him, I was back at Waldo, and the train, NO10, was already there. Okay. Not good. Next stop was 30 miles north at Baldwin. A yard job was pulling a cut out of the west yard and shoving it back to the east side. The SD40-3 is still a treat to see. These are sharp-looking engines. .4052 was pulling out deep into the ex-Tallahassee subdivision, now the Florida, Gulf, and Atlantic Railroad. CSX sold off the Baldwin to Pensacola line to Boca Raton-based Rail USA. The deal was made final just 1 week before this video. I moved about half a mile east to Oliver Street in Baldwin. It wasn't long before Q220 came out, headed northward to Waycross and then to Montgomery, Alabama, presumably via the Thomasville and Dothan subdivisions, known in these parts as the Bow Line. 220 is all auto racks, like most of the Q200 trains are. Next up was the most interesting train of my day, though I didn't know it at the time. It was A764, a local shuttle from Waycross to Baldwin Yard. I didn't get a length or axle count, but this guy looked like he could stretch across a couple of zip codes at once. Massive. Nicknamed the Waycross Baldwin Peddler, A764 brings down daily traffic for Tallahassee, Baldwin, Stark, and Orlando, plus auto racks for TDSI and Jacksonville. This train is so big that it often carries a DP unit in the middle or on the bottom. 764 goes on duty in Waycross every day at 11:30 and makes it to Baldwin in the middle to late afternoon. This is where the line from Callahan crosses the Tallahassee line and enters Baldwin Yard. It has, over the years, off and on, depending on service design, been one of the busiest rail junctions in Florida. After 764, I pointed the truck south for home, but heard one more train just before dark. 2.5 hours of driving with the AC blowing on my camcorder on the front seat cooled the lens just enough to catch all that Florida humidity when I got out and set up at Owensboro for Q046.
CSX detector, milepost 825.9, speed 52, no defects. Repeat, no defects. Total axles 148, length 3177.
So overall, it was not a bad day out there on the S-Line if you discount the rain and that cold train I missed and that ice cold camera that I pulled out at Owensboro that got all fogged up when Q046 passed. You can't let your camera get cold with your AC blowing on it in the summertime if you're going to shoot in the humid days of Florida. It'll just fog over on you. There's nothing you can do about it. Now normally this would be the end of the video and I'd be saying goodbye, but there was one more catch that I got about a week later, and I thought I would tack it on to the end of this video because, well, worth it. We CSX rail fans had been hearing about these for weeks, and at last they came into Central Florida. I spent the day waiting for them on Thursday. They were pulling K423 ethanol loads for Tampa, but delays and just bad luck pushed their arrival to Tampa to almost midnight, way past this guy's bedtime. But the next day I had my radar on for them. Thanks to lots of rail fans for the info, especially Matt Bryan and Michael Walsh and all the guys on the Florida Rail Fan Facebook groups. The engines, CSXT 911 and 1776, are special tribute units. The 911 saluting first responders, the 1776 saluting the armed forces and veterans. Both fantastic pieces of artwork. I'm especially impressed with the Veterans Unit and its digital camo. Nice work, CSX. The tribute engines were to lead Q046, nightly Tropicana loads for New Jersey and intermodal traffic for Jacksonville. Well, you just saw a Q046 at Owensboro. The crowd was building here at UCD Yard. Except for Matt and Mike, all of these guys had driven up from South Florida just to get a look at these engines. There would be dozens more on the chase along the route tonight. At 1846, the crew began the process of making the train solid. It was in 3 pieces tonight, and they had to be coupled together to make this train. That's called tripling out. The engines were out on the main line now and would stay there through the tripling out process. I wouldn't see them again, so I had to move up to a spot further northward on the A line, the distant signal to Mango. At 19:30, here they came, arguably the coolest train in Florida this night. My thanks also to Scott Tank Jr., Dale Rockwell, and many, many others for all the info you sent my way on catching these engines. My thanks to Eric Hendrickson with CSX for making all this happen with those 2 engines and for letting us all know about it. I really appreciate it. So until next time, I'll see you somewhere out there on the high iron. This is Danny Harmon, out.